YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today I got my linebacker rankings for the 2021 NFL Draft. We've done almost every position group, so we got corners and safeties and a big board. And then we got our final mock drafts, different types of mock drafts, a rumors video, a lot to get to with a week, a little over a week, a day over a week away until the NFL Draft here. So really excited. We'll have you covered throughout and after the NFL Draft as well. Make sure you follow our Twitter, Fan Voted Mock Draft, constant NFL rumors talk on there. And we'll be talking during most of the NFL Draft on there as well. And subscribe to the channel for all that content. We much appreciated. Any link that you're looking for, pinned down in the comments, including that Twitter where the Fan Voted Mock Draft's going on. I just posted the 25th pick here a little bit ago for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you guys are voting for that. I'll make a reaction video on basically your guys' pick. All the picks for that in the first round. Here's kind of the guide, everything on one page, early access, some early rankings getting posted early here as well. You actually can save these images. But that is for if you sign up for the Patreon tier 3 or higher. More coming to that as well. Link below in the comments section. Superlatives for the linebackers. Best tackler, going Micah Parsons. Easy choice there. Sure tackler. Just a tackling machine, really. Best in coverage, obvious one, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. One of the best coverage linebackers we've ever seen. Kind of a linebacker DB hybrid in a way, so that would actually make sense. Best blitzer, going to go Micah Parsons. Absolutely dominant blitzing. You see the pass rush skills as well. If it's blitzing, even if it's off the edge. So that's impressive. Most athletic, once again, going Micah Parsons. A battle, though. You could go JOK. You could go Jamin Davis, very athletic. But I'm going to go Parsons. Extremely impressive how athletic he is with that size. Most range, I'm going to go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Another one, you could go Micah Parsons. But I think factor in the range within coverage, JOK gets the award there. Best instincts, I'm going to go Nick Bolton. A lot of times on tape, you see him kind of take the first step or move his body towards the direction where the play is about to go. But he does that pre-snap, pretty impressive. Most versatile, could go with a lot of these guys here as well. I'm going to go Baron Browning just because we've seen him line up inside, outside, off the edge, even at slot corner as well. There's been limited reps, but we've even seen him line up outside at corner. So he's going to get most versatile there. Boomer bust, going to go Zavin Collins. Very impressive player on tape, especially his year in Tulsa. Pretty impressive frame, slash build with his athleticism. There's a lot to wow about with him. But then there's some negatives, and then there's some situation we'll talk about where we don't really know where to put him specifically, or where teams may not know where to put him. So labeling him boom or bust there. Most upside, I'm going to go Jamin Davis, only 1 year as a full-time starter and shown big-time improvements and flashes this year. So I think continuing to work with that athletic specimen there, he can reach some ridiculous upside there, some very high ceiling. Sleeper Derrick Barnes, big fan of Derrick Barnes. If you follow us on Twitter, you probably know that already, but we'll talk about more about him in a little bit. But he's a big time sleeper. Deep sleeper going to Ernest Jones. Might not be a deep sleeper. Could go earlier than expected, but not enough people are talking about the South Carolina linebacker. With this draft class. Number 1 linebacker, I'm going Micah Parsons. I gave him an elite grade. Don't give out a whole bunch of elite grades, but I'm giving one to this freak of an athlete. Almost plays like a psychopath. You always want one of those guys. I don't know if he is, but if he actually is, but you always want one of those guys on your team just flying around the field, making ridiculous plays, hits in the backfield, sure tackler. You don't see that power, that size, that range, that athleticism all combined into one really ever. Absolute freak of a dude. Scheme versatile, position versatile. Kind of goes into each other. He played more of a 4-3 weak side, so that's outside linebacker in a 4-3 role. Seen him kind of rush, play from the inside, blitz, I should say, or play from the inside as well. Has the size and talent to play 3-4 inside linebacker. He can continue to play 4-3 outside linebacker. Well, kind of going back to that 3-4 inside linebacker role, I think you fit any 3-4 inside linebacker role, but those teams that blitz their inside guys a bunch would be ideal. He's lined up off the edge, rush from the edge. He would be if we were just saying he's only an edge rusher, which he's not, but if we were saying that, he would get drafted in the first round. That's how talented he is. But kind of going back to the 4-3, they can use him the way Penn State did, a 4-3 teams. Play him at weak side. Maybe on the obvious passing downs, you rush him off the edge. That'd be very much ideal. Top tier blitzer, we talked about that. Tackling machine, attacks gaps, plus the ball downhill. One of those downhill guys, goes directly to the ball. Just so fun to watch. I mean, it's a guy that gets you out of your seat, gets you pumping your chest, It's one of those guys, you just love to watch these guys. Why passing them? Some character concerns. If you don't like what we heard in terms of that hazing incident, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you just don't like what you heard there. But it's kind of felt like it went away, but now it's kind of being brought back up. Why? I think that's the media's and fans' job, it seems like, to do a week before the draft, 2 weeks before the draft it started. So maybe some teams just don't like it. I've heard of people, not people within the league, but people that are just like, I wouldn't draft that. I don't like what I've heard. So maybe there's some teams. I don't think I wouldn't imagine it's many around the league there. I think he's solid in coverage, but can improve. I think people kind of knock him with his coverage ability, but that's just because we're nitpicking when it comes to elite players, and maybe he's not. I mean, he's definitely not in the level of JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I probably should just say that. So I think people are kind of getting too ridiculous with that he's not good in coverage. That's just really not the case. He has tremendous upside in coverage as well. He's a fantastic ball player. He's probably going to go later than where his value is, probably because the quarterbacks push guys like this down. Makes sense. Number 2, I'm going Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Top 10 grade for me. Kind of borderline, but it's just such a rare talented player. I mean, we just saw one last year with Isaiah Simmons, but I mean, how often do you see linebackers that can cover like this? You just don't. This might be the best one in NFL history. But then again, he kind of is a hybrid player, kind of a DB in a way, a big nickel, if you will. So that would make sense, but still, everyone's calling him a linebacker. You do not see coverage guys like this at that position. You just don't. And the linebacker position is kind of going this way, even though he's kind of considered undersized. He's playing around a Darius Leonard weight here, so I'm not really too worried about the size, but I mean, look at what Notre Dame did with them. He was the most important piece of that team. He was covering top targets from the slot, whether it was receiver or tight end, every single week, and doing it better than defensive backs across the country, really. So, I mean, that right there is extremely impressive. Instinctive, rangy, obviously a great athlete, just constantly around the ball. Whenever there was a forced fumble, a big time play, and you knew who it was. You knew who made that play. So that's just how it was at Notre Dame. So just a big time, just football player in general, because he can do multiple different things. Why passing him? Yeah, some people may view him undersized. Probably only fits 4-3 teams, and then there's probably only a chunk. Well, a chunk's kind of big out of the 4-3 teams, but 4-3 teams, roughly half of the NFL, half of the league, and then you take only a portion of those teams. So he doesn't have a bunch of fits. And sometimes teams know, well, he doesn't fit this team, doesn't fit that team. We can wait for him. We can get him over here. So could that result in a slide? Why I say he doesn't really fit 3-4 teams is because he's not going to play inside linebacker. The outside linebackers in 3-4 are pass rushers. Could a 3-4 team put him at safety, a big nickel? Possibly. So maybe there's a couple 3-4 teams that he could fit. Specifically fitting a cover 3 role where you play, a robber scheme, a robber type player, a linebacker DB hybrid, kind of what Jeremy Chin, how he played with the Panthers last year. But JOK, just definitely a much better prospect, and that's kind of saying a lot too there. Number 3, I'm going to go Jamin Davis, the Kentucky linebacker, elite athlete. I mean, just a fantastic athlete, speed, quickness, explosiveness. Got really good length. Everyone's looking for length these days, and I see why. But now, 10 years ago, it didn't seem like a thing. Now it's like, what's his wingspan? What's his arm length? How much length does he got? Because guys, coaches want to work with this. He's a playmaker in coverage. Just constantly got his hands in the ball, constantly read the quarterback, jumped routes. Tennessee game was wild. Solid range too, what you want in a linebacker. He improved his ability game by game to correctly shoot gaps, the correct gap, the correct read. Early on, it didn't really look that great. Going in the wrong gap, not really seeing the ball. Ridiculous difference towards the end. What does that remind me of? Can't really compare him to this player, but it reminds me of Patrick Queen last year. First 5 games on tape, Patrick Queen didn't look like a first-round pick. Probably didn't look like a second-round pick. Second half of the season, this guy got ridiculous. He got much better in big games, and that was a first-round prospect. Jamin Davis did the same thing pretty much. He didn't get to play on the level, the big game that Patrick Queen did, but tons of upside. 1-year starter there. That's maybe why you passed him. Only 1 season playing at this high of a level. Obviously, it was a weird year, so maybe teams don't want to base a lot off that. That's really the only negative. The early tape isn't that great, I guess, but not super worried about it. Number 4, Zavin Collins made things tough this morning. Well, not really this morning, but the news came out this morning that he weighed in at 270 at the NFL medical check combine, if you want to call it that. He weighed 11 pounds, I believe, less at his pro day, which was only a few weeks before that. So that's interesting. What does that tell me? I don't think he messed up and gained weight, got out of shape. I don't think it's that. I'm thinking teams may have told him to gain weight so he can be an edge rusher. So maybe he doesn't belong with the linebackers, but with the way I grade, he played off-the-ball linebacker. He looks like an off-the-ball linebacker, but his flaws, to get rid of those flaws, maybe you do put him as an edge rusher. So he's very, very tough. Which group do I grade him with? Because there aren't 270 off-the-ball linebackers in football. There just aren't. I was kind of doing some research because I'm not good at remembering which player weighs what. But I believe Dante Hightower might be the heaviest starting linebacker in football at 260. Tremaine Edmonds is pretty heavy. Leighton Vander Esch is pretty heavy. He could be a similar player to a Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds was an inside linebacker, stayed an inside linebacker. Zavin Collins was actually an outside at Tulsa. People forget that. But, maybe we'll have to move him inside or play him off the edge. But he did play a weak side outside, but had kind of a hybrid role at the same time. But he's got that old school frame, but he's got today's athleticism. All these old school coaches, most of the defensive coordinators are old school guys. They're in love with the size and strength. We know that. But they got to gear a little bit. They're a little stubborn, but they got to gear a little bit more towards today's athleticism. But you got to get the 2 for 1 here with Zavin Collins. I can see the old school coaches, which a lot of defense coaches are the old school guys still. Offense kind of changing on that aspect, but I can see them drooling over a guy like this. I think we all can see that. Versatile defender. He played outside, but it was kind of a hybrid role on his responsibilities, and then sometimes rushing off the edge, but more blitzing in terms of pass rushing. It was more of a blitzer, and played inside at times, kind of was Lone Ranger there in the middle. Excellent taking on blocks, shedding them, mirroring them. That's fantastic for him. Playmaker and coverage. Read quarterback's eyes and body language very, very well to react to. That's where he stood out the most, I thought. Especially with a big dude like that. You love that. Why pass on him? He's a solid tackler kind of when he's squared up, but there's times where he has to move laterally and the running back or the ball carrier did a quick juke or a quick lateral move to side to side, basically. Not necessarily a juke, it didn't have to be. He would miss quite a bit. Basically, if he's not going to let guys slip away, if he's in the act of wrapping a guy up, he's going to bring him down. But if he can get juked out of his jock strap, to be quite honest with you, and that change of direction with limited time, I think, is a big problem for him. Role and responsibilities will likely be different, I think, in the NFL. And that we talked about, he could switch to an edge rusher, so that could mean that. But I really meant, he kind of played a hybrid role, and he had a lot of freedom. A lot of the moments where he made plays in coverage, he was in the middle of the field, and he was kind of a free roaming guy. Just read the quarterback, it was very impressive, very good at it. But how many reps in the NFL on an NFL defense is he going to be able to do that? Are they going to give him the freedom to do that? I don't think very many. Because the Tulsa defense was pretty much built around him. You just do what you want because you're the best player on the field right now. No defensive coordinator in the NFL is going to, bow down to something like that, So it might be a lot different. And for those reasons I explained, maybe his best bet is going to edge rusher. I just don't see. He could be a good edge rusher because the traits and his size and everything, it's just hard to judge him there, Number 5, I'm very high on Derrick Barnes. I don't know of too many people that have him this high. Some people are starting to hear a little bit of chatter finally on Derrick Barnes. I'm a big fan of him, though. I got him graded round 2. The power, the strength with him combined with the athleticism. It's pretty rare, even though we're seeing more of these guys every year. Dominant versus the run, shoots the gaps, finds the ball carrier, big-time hitter, pretty damn good tackler. Improving in pass coverage, you see every step of the way. You saw that, and that makes sense because he switched positions. But then you see at the Senior Bowl one-on-ones, he was actually pretty impressive in coverage. You could see he's getting better at it. But he's versatile. He played defensive end for Purdue. Then they switched him off ball. He got some inside-outside action. He was pretty good at DN too. But, I think almost being a natural off-the-ball linebacker with limited time there is what really stands out to me. Limited experience, still a natural, still getting better. I think he's got a lot of upside for that reason. reasons. For those reasons, why passing on him? Yeah, pretty inexperienced. You don't really know his firm. I know his firm position, but maybe some teams don't. Pretty lengthy, got long arms, but maybe on a little bit on the shorter side. Everyone's in love with the 6'2" linebackers these days around that size. Could improve versus blocks. That kind of makes sense as well, the way he takes on blocks, because playing defensive end, taking on a tackle, trying to prevent you from pass rushing, a lot different, so that kind of makes sense, but hopefully he can improve in that aspect there. 6, going to go Nick Bolton from Missouri. Pretty good instincts, pretty good motor, shoots towards the ball. You love those things about him. Change of direction, skills, speed, quickness, could be better. I don't know if I see a whole lot of upside. There's some really good things that you can't coach, but I do like him. Early second, it makes a lot of sense. Baron Browning, extremely versatile. One of those coverage linebackers, but good stopping the run as well. It's the type of linebackers everyone's looking for. I like him in the second round. Jabril Cox, second round. Tough evaluation on Jabril Cox because he has these moments where, wow, first round. This got to be a first round player. He's a big time playmaker. I think after Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he is so after him, he's the best in terms of coverage for the linebackers. Looks like a safety 5-10 years ago. Probably would be a safety. Just so good in coverage, so good attacking the ball, playmaking, and that's great. But as an actual linebacker, solid. But doesn't really attack the ball like all these other guys. He kind of takes safe angles, gives up some more yards. He can tackle though. I just don't know if he's as willing and as explosive as the other guys. So where are you going to use him? Is he only like a third down option? That's what I kind of worry about. A little risky, but he's very talented. Why I still have him in the second round? Pete Werner, I got him a third round linebacker from Ohio State. Tested very well, very athletic. Kind of always around the ball as well. Chaz Surratt, another tough one, former quarterback turned linebacker, pretty wild, but he has the instincts, he understands offenses because he played quarterback for a long time, and so that's fantastic. Pretty solid in coverage. I guess the thing is, not the best tackler, but he did improve this last year, but is he improving because he's still learning the position? Is he still going to be a mediocre, average at best tackler because he was originally a quarterback, and that makes sense? Where are we at with this? It's tough to tell, but he hasn't really been the best tackler. 2019 was kind of a disaster, but it's understandable because, again, he switched from quarterback to linebacker. So it's a little tough. Got Ernest Jones at 11 from South Carolina. Very poor man's, and I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Darius Leonard, but a very poor man's Darius Leonard. I kind of get those vibes, even though Darius Leonard's a weak side outside linebacker. Ernest Jones played more inside, but I can see him shifting towards that outside role in a 4-3. I think he had a tough task. South Carolina's scheme, they really only had 2 linebackers covering a lot of ground there. Pretty explosive, not super fast, but quick. Change of direction skills are pretty good. Very good tackler, fills gaps. So I think people are sleeping on him. Cam McGrone from Michigan, another tough one because he's talented inside linebacker, kind of today's style inside linebacker, very athletic, sure tackler. He's very good in run support, very good. He could get better in coverage. Definitely can get better in coverage. The problem is he's had some past injuries pop up, and that is why he's going to fall to around the 4-5 range in my opinion. But he's pretty talented. 13, Dylan Moses. Talked about this on Twitter a little bit. I almost like his upside better as an edge rusher. Very limited reps rushing off the edge or blitzing, but he almost looked like I don't want to call him a natural, but he looked pretty close, looked pretty good. I don't really see a whole bunch of upside off the ball linebacker, in terms of the role he played at Alabama. Solid tackler, solid stop and a run, solid range. Just nothing that wows me, After the injury, I feel like he kind of took some steps down. But what I guess I would like, I would list him as edge rusher because I do see a more upside there. I just don't think a team's going to do that. I feel like I'm the only person that sees that, but on the planet. But so what I'm going to say here is, how about a 4-3 team draft someone? They put him at weak side, outside linebacker in early downs, and then on the obvious pass rushing downs, you can put him off the edge. I guess similar to what we're doing with Micah Parsons here, but that's the problem. Is he going to get the opportunity to be able to do that? Because he's probably going to be off the bench. It's a tough one. Talented player, but it's tough. Buddy Johnson, built like an absolute tank, and old school inside linebacker, good leader for Texas A&M, very good stopping to run. Definitely can get better in terms of pass coverage. Pretty athletic compared with his power. But I see a 3-4 team that obviously runs 2 inside linebackers. If they have another inside linebacker in place already that's pretty good in coverage, very athletic, side-to-side guy as well, I think Buddy Johnson be a pretty good pairing with a guy like that. So that could be ideal. Maybe a late round pick for Steelers, Buccaneers. I think that'd be something those teams they could use in rotation, perhaps. Just fits. I'm just rattling off teams. Monty Rice, 15. Tough one because always around the ball, big time playmaker. It was fun to watch at Georgia. Kind of missing the traits and kind of has the what is he in the NFL, and that's kind of what brings him down based, further down than where you thought his play was, I guess, at Georgia. That's pretty tough. Exactly knowing where to put him. 4-3. He's probably not going to get that many reps. It's a tough evaluation there, and he doesn't have the wow traits, but again, he's got pretty good tape. Was kind of always around the ball there, so some pretty solid linebackers here. I do like the first round guys a lot, but there's going to be some good ones as we can see here in Bolton, Browning, Cox that go in round 2 that slipped through the first round. Maybe out of the top 5 guys. Actually, I had Derrick Barnes second round as well. But out of the top 4 guys, I should say, maybe one of those guys slips through the second round. Very possible. So we can get some really good value on day 2 here. So that's what I like about the class. And they kind of fit today's mold of types of linebackers too. So let me know your rankings, your thoughts in the comments. Almost done with these cornerback safeties and big board and a lot more videos. So join us for that. Make sure you follow that Twitter. Very important. Link pinned in the comments for anything you need. But that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.